All right. Andrea, Meliá Hotels. It's a big international brand from Spain. How many of you have been to the Meliá in Ho Chi Minh? Ho Chi Minh?
Hey,
a few of you guys? I would say it's one of the more popular hotels in all of Vietnam, actually, because it's so easy to get to. It's obviously high standard. It's got good food and drink, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
That's great.
But Andrea, before we get started, I'd love for you to share, why did Meliá Hotels put their headquarters for Asia Pacific in Vietnam? Usually it's Singapore or Bangkok or perhaps Hong Kong, but it's actually here in Vietnam. Why does Meliá look at investing in Vietnam more seriously today?
Thank you very much. First of all, I wanted to thank you for inviting us today. It is a pleasure for us to be here. So Meliá Hotels International, actually, our story with Vietnam started more than 20 years ago when we established our first hotel in Vietnam. That is actually Meliá Hanoi. I don't know if also some of you know this hotel. And actually, since then, we have grown very much. And today we have 20 hotels in our portfolio. So actually, we can say from all of our hotel portfolio in the Southeast Asia region, 60% is in Vietnam. So that's why we took the decision to establish our headquarters. Before, our headquarters were in Shanghai, but we decided to move it to Vietnam and establish here, and we are very happy with the moving.
Okay. Yeah, it's a big statement to not only move the headquarters, but to choose Vietnam as well. 20 hotels, that's in the region?
20 hotels is in Vietnam.
Oh,
only.
Vietnam, really? Yes. 20?
Yes.
Okay, so we have Meliá Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh.
Yes, we have Meliá Da Nang.
Da Nang. Oh, wow.
And then since we have a collaboration with Vimpel that maybe you have heard of, we took over the management of 13 Meliá Vimpel hotels.
Right. Okay.
Now, so we have presence in almost, I would say, every city in Vietnam. We have presence in Hue, in Quang Binh, in Tay Ninh, Thanh Hoa, Hai Phong,
Awesome.
Cam Ranh. In Cam Ranh, we have actually 2 hotels. And we are going to open our next hotel later this year, our Grand Meliá, the luxury hotel. So yeah, very wide presence,
Yeah, so for those of you wondering how to get in touch with the hotel groups that you want to work with, maybe selling coffee beans to them. I think Timon would like to talk to you later, Andrea. Maybe creative marketing. I think the agency just before us, you exchange business cards with. Meliá Hotels is one of the few to have their headquarters and their directors here in Vietnam. Say hi to Andrea later. She would love to do collaborations with you guys, I'm sure. Andrea, we're going to move over a little bit to F&B. Spanish food is obviously well-loved and well-known. Although Vietnamese people may not know or be familiar with it too much. So why don't we just start with that? Do the Meliá Hotels focus on Spanish food at all? Is it a component that you guys really try to promote? Or is it more of a take a back seat and kind of adapt it by each local market?
Very good question. So actually, we do both. As Hao said, we are a Spanish hotel company. Our origin is Spanish. So we always, where we go, we try to bring our Spanish, let's say also passion for gastronomy, because you might have heard of that Spain now has become one of the most popular cuisines in the world, with a lot of recognition from Michelin star chefs. And we are famous for this, for putting a lot of passion in our food. And we try to bring this passion, this knowledge to our hotels. We also, in some of our key hotels, we open Spanish restaurants. We try to bring the best, we can say the flagship Spanish restaurant in the city or where we are located. Some good samples, for example, in Sol Phu Quoc, you can enjoy very good Spanish food. We have a Spanish chef. And this year in Grand Meliá Nha Trang, we will open a restaurant called Hispania. That is an existing brand that has already a very wide presence in Europe. But this will be the first Hispania in Asia. And it's a brand that it was curated by Marcos Moran, that is a Michelin star chef. So we have Spanish restaurants, but also we, of course, when we go to a country, we learn from the culture itself. We are very respectful and very appreciated of the country where we locate, and we try to learn from their cuisine as well and their culture as well. So, for example, In Meliá Hao Tran that you mentioned before, we have a Vietnamese restaurant that is called Muoi that has been revamped lately and is very focused on hand-picked fresh seafood collected from the fishing markets in Ho Chi Minh area, in Vung Tau area. But yeah, we still try to bring more these restaurants into our hotels. Yeah.
I know Meliá has several types of sub-brands. So it's not all called Meliá. There's a few that are like Seoul, for instance, and a couple of others. How do you, as a marketer yourself, does Meliá approach it as, from a restaurant point of view, do you focus more on the customers inside the hotels, or do you try to draw them from outside? And I ask you that because last week in Hanoi, actually, we had a gentleman, he was the GM of Capella. Capella is a hotel in Hanoi. By most standards, the most premium. I think it goes for about almost 15 million a night. It's a different category. They only have 47 rooms, but they have 550 seats. So he was saying he's trying to draw people from outside, the locals, into the hotel. How do you think about that? Is that a focus at all, or do you focus on providing a good experience to the guests that stay there?
So I would say depend on the hotel. For example, for resort hotels located in beach locations, maybe our main focus is more like the guest at the hotel, especially if those resorts are located like they are more isolated. So we focus to really guarantee like a very good experience to the existing guests. But for example, for urban hotels, the focus would be different. We focus much more on bringing guests from outside.
Okay. What does the revenue look like from outside guests compared to in-room dining or in-house guests, especially for a city hotel like Meliá? Is it definitely more the guests that stay in-house or the ones that are spending a lot more money? Is it the guests from outside? What does that look like?
Very good. So actually, if we think on the revenue generator, what it generates more revenue, let's say for our hotels, number one is the breakfast. We can say that 95% of our clients, they choose room with breakfast. So breakfast become like a very important part.
Spanish don't eat breakfast though. Is that right?
Yes, we have,
you do?
have.
Okay. It's always like afternoon, late night dinners.
It's very late breakfast.
Okay,
I
late
agree.
breakfast.
Yeah. We have late breakfast.
Which means
late
lunch.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we love breakfast as well. And yeah, so breakfast becomes very important. And for example, buffet breakfast, we put a lot of attention to that, to have a very diverse buffet, also very balanced. As you know, Mediterranean diet is also famous for being very balanced, very healthy. And we make sure in our F&B, we already have this into consideration. Then second, it would be the catering of the meetings and events. And the third one would be room service. Yeah.
Andrea, I have a question that I always like to ask my guests, especially on my podcast that I do. Obviously, we've invited you here today because you're an expert about hospitality, about marketing, and all those kind of things. You've been here in Vietnam for a year. You probably have a lot of questions that I think the guests here might give you answers for. So I'd like to ask, what questions or what kind of people would you like to see and hear from so that you can learn more about hospitality? So it could be, for instance, on the show, I always ask this question, and everyone from real estate to financial services to insurance, they're always very curious about airlines. They want to know about how the airline industry works. So that's my question to you. What do you want to learn more about Vietnam? Could be outside of what you do as well.
So, I mean, maybe this is a little bit more personal. Meliá Hotels International, for example, we are very focused on sustainability. This is one of our key focus. In the recent years, we have been awarded the most sustainable hotel company in the world. And this is one of our key focus today. So I wanted to ask, how do you see sustainability in Vietnam? If you see this is something that is already happening, that is still has room for improvement, because I believe a lot in sustainability, also in sustainable tourism. It's something that we try to bring in our hotels as well, this knowledge. For example, we have some organic gardens in some of our hotels where the food that is eaten at the hotels, it comes directly from these gardens. And we also have a lot of policies of waste management and so on. So I wanted to ask for the restaurants that today are here And you that you know very well Vietnam, your country, how do you see your country in this sense? Yeah, because we would love to grow together on this.
That's a great topic. So if you guys are involved in ESG, sustainability, any of those, talk to Andrea later. She would love to hear from you. Oh, Jin over there, he has some insights. So a question, perhaps?
Oh, no, maybe we can catch up later.
Okay, catch up later.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Just a quick fireside chat with Andrea today. We want to keep on time a little bit, so we're going to end it there. But if you guys want to learn more about Meliá Hotels, talk to Andrea. She'll be here until 2 over lunch as well. Again, Meliá International Asia Pacific headquarters is right here in Vietnam, in District 2,
Thank you,
actually.
Hao. Thank you very
so much, Andrea.
Yeah, very nice to be here.
Thank you. Yeah.